Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Helms. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar brought to you by New Readers Press. A little bit about New Readers Press. For over 50 years, educators have trusted us to provide industry-leading instructional tools that are proven to help adult learners succeed. And we are a full solution provider of both print and digital curriculum resources for adult education, offering solutions for every level of adult ed: adult literacy, ESL, adult basic education, high school equivalency, and workforce readiness. One of the reasons that we are able to provide such a comprehensive array of resources is because of our valued partnerships. And one of these very important partnerships is with Learning Upgrade. And with us today from Learning Upgrade is Drew Robinson and a few others. Vinod Lobo is on the call. And Haneen is on the call. And Drew is the sales director at Learning Upgrade and handles customer service efforts, including the training of thousands of teachers and learners to use Learning Upgrade's technology to not only produce measurable skill gains, but ultimately to change lives. And so Drew's here to tell us more. Drew?
Thank you, Dan. I'm going to turn my video on here just so I can say hello, and then I can turn it off so we can get into the slides. But just wanted to thank everyone for attending here as we introduce our newest course, which is Citizenship Upgrade. I see some familiar names in the participants list, so that's fantastic. For those of you that are familiar with Learning Upgrade, or you're already using Learning Upgrade, this will be brand new to you as well. You may have seen the Citizenship Upgrade pop up in your students' apps over the last couple months as we introduced the preview version. We've now gone live with the full version, and so we'll be getting into all of the details there today. Just very briefly, I know everyone's a Zoom pro these days, but if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A to ask those. It just helps us keep track and to make sure that we're answering everything. The nice thing with the Q&A as well is we can see the questions that are asked, and then other attendees can see as those get answered. It also allows me to pause during the presentation and go back so that I can answer those. Haneen will be answering them in real time, and then I'll also be able to go back in those pause sections so that I can answer them for everybody in case you don't see them going through. Chat will be sharing links, so if I do mention things like a lesson list or a courses page, there'll also be a link to a free pilot section for those of you that don't already have Learning Upgrade. So the chat will be used for things like that, and then also for introductions. I see a lot of you have already said hello in the chat, so you can feel free to introduce yourself, say hello, let us know where you are dialing in from. And that would be great, just so we can have an idea of everybody who's attending and also the geography. Again, as Dan said, my name's Drew Robinson. I'm based out of Los Angeles, California. I'm joined by Haneen and Vinod from Learning Upgrade as well. They're based where the company's headquartered, which is in San Diego. So a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. We'll be starting out with an introduction. And that's just going to be a brief introduction on, what is Learning Upgrade? Who is Learning Upgrade? Very quickly, we're going to get into Citizenship Upgrade, and that's going to be covering our brand new course. From there, we'll talk about preparing with the app. So what does that look like on the student side? When they download Learning Upgrade, how does their journey begin to start preparing for the naturalization process? We'll also be covering the full Learning Upgrade ecosystem. So in a lot of literacy centers, libraries, and adult schools, we see a lot of citizenship paired with ESL. And the reason for that is ESL is a big part of passing the naturalization process and becoming a citizen, is you have to have knowledge of English. And so a lot of programs have that separate, a lot have it together. The nice thing with Learning Upgrade is we offer both solutions. So we have a fantastic ESL solution where learners can begin wherever their current abilities are. And so even if they're a new arrival to the States and they're just beginning their journey, we can take them from pre-literate all the way up to full literacy in English. And then they can go through our Citizenship Upgrade course that's going to prepare them for the civics and the interview component. And so we'll be briefly covering that. Again, most of the focus today is just on the new course, but I will be talking about how our ESL and citizenship dovetail for a really nice solution for all of your learners. Then we'll talk about deployment models. This will be brief. A lot of this we cover in the follow-up. So for those of you that have Learning Upgrade, you've already gone through a training. For those that haven't, we offer free training. So as soon as you request that pilot, an NRP individual will reach out to you and get a training time set up, and we'll go over deployment models. So we have a lot of very streamlined and easy ways to get your students enrolled in Learning Upgrade. It's a mobile first solution, but it is also available on the web. So Android, iOS, and web. And then we'll also go over how you as an instructor, as an admin, as a volunteer, as a tutor teacher, can track and monitor all of the student progress and get detailed reports on how they're performing in Learning Upgrade. And then finally, we'll just go over the Learning Upgrade pilot process. More importantly, our partners here at New Readers Press, as Dan mentioned, we work closely together. And so Greg from New Readers Press will, talk about, the New Readers Press solutions, the print solutions. Most importantly, he's fantastic at talking about that full range of solutions that New Readers Press has. And so as an organization, how do you take the print, how do you take the digital and blend that to create a fantastic set of resources for your learners and for your program? Greg will come on at the end and talk about what he's seen works best, and then also cover what's available for the print materials in citizenship from NRP. So with that, that's the brief introduction and an overview of what we'll be covering today. I see quite a few of you have already introduced yourself in the chat. That's fantastic. Thank you for doing so. It's great to have everybody here. With that, I'm going to turn my video off so you can get the full screen and not have my face overlaid on the slides here. And again, if you have any questions, use the Q&A. Anything else as far as us sharing links or any other comments, feel free to use the chat. So again, I'm Drew Robinson, Director of Partnerships, joined by Vinod, Founder and CEO, and then Haneen, our Director of Global Business. And as an organization, our goal is providing life-changing education to everybody, at every age, wherever their journey may take them, wherever they are geographically. And we do that by upskilling every learner in English ESL. So we'll be talking about that for your learners that might not be at an English level where they're ready to jump into the civics and interview preparation for citizenship. We also do that with math. We won't be covering that today. And so we have everything from basic, learning basic numeracy all the way up through algebra. We have test prep. And so citizenship is going to be a part of that test prep solution, but we also have GED and HiSET. And then we have job skills. And this is another one. These are separate courses, but we have a new work-life skills course. And a lot of the work-life skills, that's going to be part of the interview. So preparing for an interview, presentation, how you speak, how you prepare, active listening. There are a lot of soft skills in that work-life skills course that we've been able to take and present in citizenship that'll make sure that all of your learners are ready for that interview. Then we also have digital literacy and financial literacy. So as students continue their journey in life, they become a citizen, they continue in your adult ed programs, we want to make sure they have a very well-rounded education there. So how do we do that? Our Breakthrough app is really at the core of that. And today I'll be talking about how on mobile or on a browser, learners will have access to our new Citizenship Upgrade to get preparing. But what makes us different from others? We use songs, video, and games to teach. So at the core, we're about engagement. We're about getting learners to log in and spend a lot of time in the app. And we do that actually with bite-sized learning. And so it's really modeled on a lot of the other social media cues you see today. Is when you want someone to consume a lot of content, you don't present them with a 2 or 3 hour course. You don't present them with 200 or 300 page books and expect them to do hours of reading each night. The focus is bite-sized learning. So go on TikTok, go on Instagram, go on YouTube. Those are the media platforms that get the highest levels of engagement and the most time that learners will spend. And the reason for that is it's bite-sized, it's topical. When learners want to get into a topic, they get 3 to 5 minutes of instruction, then they can jump in and get practice questions done. And that's really what's going to drive total time on task. And we do the same thing. So for those of you that have used Learning Upgrade for our other courses, for our English, math, test prep, you'll know that we get in there, we have the instruction with a narrator. Goal is to be in and out, 60 to 90 seconds, maybe 120 seconds of spoken instruction. Then we do the exact same content in the form of a song to make things fun. We want learners to remember it. We want learners to be engaged. Then the gamification kicks in. And now we're going to have practice questions. Learners are earning points, they're earning medals, and they're earning certificates as they upskill their way to full proficiency. As an instructor, tutor, teacher, you're going to have access to our learning management system, and that's where you're going to be able to track and monitor progress. You'll also get detailed course reports. So you'll be able to log in and see exactly how your learners are doing. We're going to have an introduction with 12 civics lessons. So you can see, okay, they're doing really well here, learning about the executive branch, but they didn't do so well on legislative branch. Or maybe they're actually cruising through the civics section, but when they get to the English section, they're not as strong. And then our final component is going to be preparing them for the interview. Maybe they're not doing so well there, or you'll be able to dial in and see every single lesson component and module and get detailed reports on everything. It also helps you scale up. So for those of you that are in programs where you're trying to reach a large number of students, a large number of individuals that would like to apply for citizenship, but you just don't have the bandwidth, internally as an organization, maybe you don't have the volunteers, maybe you don't have the space in the rooms, our learning management system is really going to help you scale where anybody that comes to your program wanting to apply for citizenship will be able to do so. Even if you have 301 day, you can just upload a spreadsheet, get everybody enrolled in citizenship, and within 15 minutes, all of them will be starting their journey in the app. You can also have self-enrollment codes, so you can go out to the community, have everybody use the self-enrollment code, and within, again, 10 or 15 minutes, everybody can be beginning their journey with our citizenship course. And then it's free to start and affordable to grow. So again, everybody that would like to start with Learning Upgrade, you'll get a free pilot. 3 months, you'll be good to go there. And then it's affordable to grow after the pilot when you continue on. So with that, a little bit about us. We've served over 3 million students. It's a global solution. We meet federal standards for our English and math. And it's a solution that works on every web-enabled device, which is nice. And then it also cuts down on adoption fragmentation, where you're having to adopt different digital solutions for English, math, test prep, citizenship, financial literacy, work-life skills. We're going to give you everything with one app, and we're not going to nickel and dime and modulize our components. Every single Learning Upgrade license provides access to every single one of our courses for all of your students. We also include the learning management system at no cost. And so you can have as many teachers, tutors, admins logging in, tracking and monitoring progress, and you're not going to have to pay anything additional for that. We're also X Prize winners. So that was the largest field test ever done in adult ed. And that was a long multi-year process. And we were the grand prize winners after a 15,000 student field test. So here's where we're currently working. As you can see, it's a global solution, mostly for our ESL. We're working, with thousands of refugees across multiple countries, also in developing countries. As learners in the United States, though, especially with new arrivals being in San Diego, we have a lot of individuals coming from Central America, improving their English and wanting to pursue citizenship. Refugee organizations that work with individuals wanting to pursue citizenship. We realized that was the one course that we were missing in our track, is we were preparing students for English and they were going through our ESL and then having to jump into a different course to prepare for citizenship. And we were getting asked all the time to create our own course. And that way students that were enjoying Learning Upgrade, they were familiar with the way our course works, they were having incredible success improving their English, could continue, take that final step, brush up on their civic skills, brush up on their interviewing skills, and then get ready for the naturalization interview. And so that's where the new course came about. That's why we developed it, and that's why we're excited to share it today. Our motivation for doing so, is really in line when you look at the USCIS, website and you go through their process. They talk about citizenship as this common thread that connects all Americans. And they say we're not a nation bound by race or religion, but by the shared values of freedom, liberty, and equality. And throughout the history of the United States, we've welcomed newcomers from all over the world. Immigrants have been a critical part in helping shape and define the country as we know it. And the contribution of these immigrants has really helped preserve the legacy as a land of freedom and opportunity. So more than 200 years after the founding of the United States, naturalized citizens are still a critical part of our democracy. And by becoming a US citizen, the applicants are able to have a voice, they're able to have agency, and they're able to access more as a citizen than they are able to without. So for those looking to apply for citizenship, it's nice because the USCIS website has this nice 10-step process. So steps 1 through 5 are pretty straightforward. They're also a little bit easier because you can get help with those. There are workshops if you know somebody, but essentially step number 1 and 2 is let's determine if I'm eligible. And so you're going to determine if you're eligible for citizenship. From there, you're going to fill out the N400 form. And so NRP has a great print resource to prepare individuals for that. And so it's really nice to get that N400 form filled out, and then you have that behind you. But if you talk to your students, you talk to other individuals that are looking to apply for citizenship, it's always step number 6 that makes them nervous. That's where you have to go in to complete the interview. And we find that it's especially the case for English learners. English is a big part of the naturalization process. And for those that might be new to learning English, maybe they have picked up a little bit of conversational English, but aren't fully comfortable conversing in the language yet. That tends to be the challenge. The civics component, most of our learners aren't having a big, difficulty with that. From the data on the USCIS website, 96% of applicants are passing the civics component. When individuals tend to not get through the interview, it's usually due to their English, if it's in the English and civics, or it's other issues with their application. So we want to make sure that we prepare every learner for the civics, for the English component, and then for the soft skills on the interviewing to really provide them with full confidence when they go in and do that interview with the officer. From there, if they've done well in the interview, then it's just going to be receiving that decision. They'll take their oath, and then from the oath, they'll go in as a citizen. So for those that have been, providing citizenship instruction for some time, you'll be familiar with the current process. It's been around since 2008. When the Trump administration took over in 2016, it changed a little bit. They made the test longer. They made the test more difficult. But when the Biden administration took over through executive order, they brought it back to the original test. And so that's the test we're still using today. So during the interview, the officer is going to ask questions about the application. So that application we talked about in the earlier steps, 3 and 4, those are the questions that they'll be, part of the interview, and also the individual's background. Then they're also going to have the English and civics part. So during English, the individual must demonstrate an understanding of the English language and also have the ability to read, write, and speak. Again, that tends to be where the applicants have challenges. And then the civics test, that's the 100 questions. The individuals are going to be answering questions about, American government and history. So things are changing. The goal is for 2024. When you look at USCIS, they wanted changes. It's been, 15 years. It'll be 16 years next year when they're having the new test in full. They're currently already running pilots. They're running tests. Certain applicants are going through the new version of the test so that they can get things dialed in before making it official. So for those that aren't familiar or haven't heard that the test is changing, I just wanted to cover how it will change and why it's important that we developed our new Citizenship Upgrade course the way we did to make sure that learners are prepared for the new version of the test. So one of the new components is officers are going to be showing photos, and these are going to be of activities, of weather, or things like food, and then they're going to ask the applicants to verbally describe the photos. So for those of you that are in ESL, you'll know that this is going to be a big change for a lot of the applicants, and it's going to be a challenge for our English learners because the original test, you were just asking people to answer questions about their application. And so when you're answering questions about your application, these are going to be a lot of topics you're already familiar with. A lot of the times when you're learning a new language, a lot of the first sentences that you're speaking are about yourself. So my name is, these are the things I'm interested in, this is where I'm from, this is my primary language, and that's a big part of the ESL process. So when the application is based on that, you can do a lot of preparation, you can prepare a lot of your answers based on what you've provided in the form, and so that's going to be different. Now we're going off of random photos that the individual might be seeing. Maybe it's a food that they haven't seen before, maybe it's an activity they're not familiar with. Hopefully in the piloting of this and the development of this new format, they're going to be providing photo cues that'll be relevant to most applicants and not make that too difficult. But that is going to be a new part of the test. So, ESL English is going to be even more important to make sure that based on any photo prompt, the applicant will be able to answer questions based on what the officer is asking. So the next one is going to be based on civics. And so this one's going to be multiple choice. And so you might say, that's not really a big difference from the original one, but it actually is. It's going to require more civics knowledge. So in the current format, the officer can ask an applicant a question. I'd like you to name a war from the 1900s. So in this case, any answer will do as long as the war is in the 1900s. They're not having to go through a bank of other options. So in the new format, it's multiple choice. They're going to be receiving, in most cases, 4 possible answers. And so they might know wars from the 1900s, but not the one provided in the multiple choice format. So this is just going to require that our applicants know more civics knowledge than they did before. Again, most of our applicants are already passing the civics component, but that was with the officers asking these questions. In the new format, that number might go down initially. So it's really important that we're providing them access to all of the civics questions, that they're taking time to learn more about that section, and that way they're provided. So the takeaway is more civics knowledge is going to be required. And so we have 12 full lessons that walk the learners through everything that they would ever need to know on that, with practice questions in a multiple choice format on an app. So most guidance is saying it's probably going to be computer-based for the civics part. And so that's perfectly in line with exactly how we're teaching the learners anyway. They get the instruction, they get multiple choice, they have to answer the questions on their app or on a browser. And then the applicants need more English understanding. So again, this is critical based on photo prompts. In Citizenship Upgrade, our new course, they're going to be receiving the photo prompts. But then we also have our English upgrade track, which is going to be English 1 and basic all the way up through 5. So for learners that are pre-literate, just beginning their journey, we can get them prepared for the English side of things. And that way they're fully confident and fully prepared when they do get these photo cards and the new multiple choice. So now that we've covered the current state of the test and the changes that are on the horizon that they're already testing now and will most likely be coming in 2024, what makes Citizenship Upgrade different? And so I'm going to be jumping into the full lesson list, kind of how we design the course, the lessons that are included. But a lot of the citizenship resources available are really focused on civics, and that's fantastic, but those questions are available in a lot of places. So we're going to cover those as well. What makes ours different, though, is we do it in an engaging way. Again, we're going to have the instruction, we have songs, we have the gamification, we have the multiple choice questions, and we get learners moving through learning those civics questions in a fun way, preparing them for the current and the upcoming changes to the test. We also enhance the reading and writing skills. So you can see there in the citizenship lesson map, we have some refresher lessons on spelling, punctuation, capitalization, and directions to make sure learners are ready. But this course is really geared up for learners that are at that NRS 5 level. As you know, in your programs, you have a lot of learners that aren't NRS 5 that are wanting to prepare for citizenship, and that's when they tend to go into an ESL course. So with Learning Upgrade, we have both. A learner can come to you, we can have them take the Learning Upgrade English assessment. That's the very first thing they'll do in the app. Let's say they get placed in English Upgrade 3. We have a full 60 lesson English Upgrade 3, 60 lesson English Upgrade 4, and then a 60 lesson English Upgrade 5, and that's NRS level, so NRS 5. Once they finish that English Upgrade 5, NRS 5 English course, now we know they have the English skills to prepare for citizenship. So in one app, the learner is able to get assessed for their English skills, work up to full proficiency, then they can get into our Citizenship Upgrade, and you'll see there begin with citizenship basics, learn about democracy, branches of government, Congress, the executive branch, all the way through. Lesson 30 is a final challenge. So that's going to be a comprehensive full test they'll be able to go through and really feel like they're ready for that sit down with the officer, with the interview. And so that's important. We want to make sure there's a timed component where they're answering questions in a multiple choice format. They're going to be seeing, currently they're getting 10 civics questions out of the 100. And so they'll be getting more than 10. We want to make sure that they're brushing up on their civics skills for us. That lesson 1 through 12, they're going to be answering questions on English, answering questions on interviewing. So when they get done with Citizenship Upgrade, that'll be probably the hardest part of their process. And when they get to sit down with an officer for the naturalization interview, they'll be ready to go and feeling very confident based on what they've learned. So here's a look at the full lesson map. It was very small in the previous one, so we have it larger here so you can get a close look at it. And then you can also see how we break things down. So 1 through 12, those are going to be the civics lessons. And again, we're covering every primary topic, and we're exposing learners to every single one of those 100 questions that they could potentially see in their interview on the current format, and then in 2024 in the multiple choice based on the new one. And this is critical. Again, the multiple choice is very important to make sure that they're not just memorizing 1 or 2 pieces of information from each topic, but they're memorizing almost all of it. And that way, regardless of which multiple choice questions they get, they'll feel comfortable. And then if they get the current format, no matter what the officer is asking them, they're going to feel like they have the confidence to answer every single one of those civics questions. Then we're going to move into our reading and our writing component. And again, this is important. They have to be able to demonstrate that they can understand and also read and write English. So for those that are at that NRS 5, these again are going to be refreshers to make sure that they are fully confident and that they know the rules. And then finally, we're going to get into our interviewing, and that's going to be 24 through 30. And that's when they'll have the final challenge, and they'll be able to have the comprehensive test from there. So this is going to be the last slide before I jump into a live demo. And so again, Citizenship Upgrade and ESL, this is all going to be packaged in one app alongside our other courses. It's designed for the current and future formats. So regardless of what happens with these proposed changes from USCIS, your learners will be ready. So for those that are getting started in their journey, maybe in a month or two, they don't have to feel like, oh, you know what, if the test changes in 2024, I'm going to have to completely throw my prep out the window and start over. No, you can tell your learners that starting with this Citizenship Upgrade course from Learning Upgrade, it doesn't matter which format of the test they get, they will be ready. Okay, so with that, I'm going to switch over to the demo. But before I do, I just wanted to, go back and take a look at the Q&A. And again, for those of you that have any questions that pop up, feel free to ask those in the Q&A. I'm I'm just going to read some of these out loud just in case some of you haven't seen it. But one is the webinar will be made available. There is a recording for that. Is the free pilot for Citizenship Upgrade available even if you've had Learning Upgrade before? We can have a conversation about that. So if you don't have Learning Upgrade currently, we can absolutely talk about getting another pilot started even if you piloted in the past. That's no problem at all. Will the new civics test be oral? That's from Rachel. So there's still some uncertainty on the new test for next year. It could be oral, but if it ends up being multiple choice, like USCIS is proposing, then it would not be. In that case, it will be probably computer-based, unless someone needs to have a paper-based test. But from what I've read and from what I'm been seeing coming out, especially from the early pilot information, it seems like it will be a computer-based multiple choice test, just like the one that we have in our app. So those are all the questions so far. Just wanted to cover those quickly. Thank you for those questions, Dawn, Catherine, and Rachel. And again, if there's any other questions from anyone else in attendance, feel free to use the Q&A for that. And then after we go through the demo, I'd be more than happy to answer a few more of those. So with that, I'm going to switch over to my browser here. And here you're going to see Citizenship Upgrade. For those of you that already have Learning Upgrade, you'll log into the app the same way you would as a student. And then these new courses, they just become active as we add them. You'll also see a little bit of a spoiler here. We've had a lot of requests for English Upgrade 6. So that course will be coming next year. We have it in preview, so there's a few lessons that are ready to go there. And that'll just continue to round out our fantastic ESL solution. For those that have never seen Learning Upgrade before, just wanted to briefly cover our full course offerings. These are available to every student. When the student first logs in, they're not going to see our English and math lessons. They'll have to take a placement test to get placed into one of these courses, unless you as the instructor has specified in the learning management system that that's where you want them to go. For those that are in citizenship, no placement needed. You can directly enroll them into this, or they can add it for themselves. And when they click on that, they're going to see all 30 lessons and they'll begin their journey. And so that's going to start out with citizenship basics. But for the first demo lesson, I'm going to play branches of government. And that way you can just get an introduction on the instruction that we provide, how we then provide the instruction in the form of a song. And then we'll take a look at some of those practice questions.
In the U.S. citizenship test, you will be asked questions about the branches of the U.S. government. The government is broken into 3 independent branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch.
Okay, so you can see, if I'm a student, this might be brand new information to me. So I'm going over the branches of government. We also provide a digital workbook. And so this is just a free PDF. A lot of our programs will just print this out, and then learners can have a Learning Upgrade notebook that they can use alongside. We find it's really helpful, especially here with the Citizenship Upgrade when you're having a lot of new material at once, especially with things like civics. So what they can do is they can type in their course. So in this case, they can do abbreviations. They can type the lessons that they're working on, and then they can type in their notes. And then when they save this, all of this will be saved. So if they're working in a browser, it makes it really easy. If they're on a Chromebook. If they're working on a mobile device, in that case, it's usually best to print this out, or they can just print out 1 or 2 pages of it, fill in the notes, and then you can see there are 3 branches of the US government. I have the legislative, executive, and judicial, and then why, and then we'll get into that in the demo here. But you can just see how easy it is for learners, especially for those that might be working independently late at night, to take notes and keep up with the ability to stop and start video, rewind, and then also use the notebook.
Splitting the government into 3 branches ensures the separation of powers. This separation creates checks and balances in the government to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. The executive branch is led by the president, who is given the role of Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The legislative branch, or Congress, is responsible for making laws. The judicial branch, made up of the courts, determines the meaning of laws and whether they are constitutional. Let's learn some more about branches of government.
1, 2, 3 branches. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 branches. Checks and balances, separation, executive, legislative, and judicial. There are 3 branches, it's official. Executive branch is led by the president, also known as commander-in-chief. Legislative branch, also known as Congress. Their job is to make the laws. Judicial branch is known as the courts. They interpret the meaning of the laws. The 3 branches keep each other in check. Keeping the government balanced is best. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 branches. Checks and balances, separation, executive, legislative, and judicial. There were 3 branches, it's official. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 branches. I said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 branches. Oh yeah.
All right, so now we've
Answer this question from the citizenship test.
We've had the instruction in the form of a song, and now we get to work on our multiple choice answering of questions. So what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? In this case, we know it is going to be checks and balances. But if you do get it wrong, the app provides instant feedback and remediation. So I'm going to get this one wrong. And that way you can just see how we visually show them that, and then also answer the question for them.
Nope. Checks and balances stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful.
All right, so now we'll go back to our courses screen. And so that was branches of government. And again, the learners will work through one at a time. So I just wanted to do one more demo, and that'll just be citizenship basics. And that'll be the first lesson that your learner sees. So they're logging in. And this is going to be an introduction to the citizenship process. Just on time, I'll play just a snippet of the instruction and then the practice questions, so we can get into the learning management system side of things. I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to see one more lesson demo.
To become a U.S. citizen, you will need to apply for citizenship. After applying, you will need to go through a naturalization interview with a U.S. government officer. There are several key parts to this interview. The officer will ask you about your application and background. You will need to take an English test. In this test, the officer will determine whether you can speak and understand English. Also, you will need to read a sentence out loud and write a sentence. Then you will need to take a civics test. You will be asked civics questions about the government, history, and geography. You will need to know the 2 major political parties in the U.S., Democratic and Republican. There are some questions on the civics test that depend on where you live in the country or depend on which politicians are in office. It is important that you look up these answers ahead of time. Using your web browser, you can make a search such as Governor of California. Use this method to find out the governor of your state, capital of your state, political party of the current president, and the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Let's learn some more about the interview. Answer the question about your naturalization interview.
So, what internet browser search would help identify the Speaker of the House? So you can have the Speaker of the House. It's always good to go in with knowledge of, all of the major pieces of the government there.
That's it? What is the answer?
And those
you
are
know the
choice
basic
questions there. So one question before I switch out of the app here, I just wanted to show you those lessons for the demo, is there were some questions on captions. And so English and Spanish captions are being worked on, and they'll be available next year. For those that use Learning Upgrade, you'll know that if you click on the menu here, you can set your language. And we have captions for our other courses. And so what they'll be able to do next year for our citizenship is select subtitles just like they would for, for those that are in the ESL group. So for ESL, we have a lot set theirs to Spanish. And then when they launch their English courses, what they'll get
big welcome
is the closed captioning for those. So
hey, look,
that'll be coming soon. For those, I think that was that the other one? Let's see. I think that was the only question on closed captioning. And then, yeah, the other one was on engine, which looks like they already have answered. So yeah, thanks for those questions on the captions. And if you have any other questions on the course and kind of things that are coming down the pipeline on those, we can provide some additional timelines as we get those. So now I'm going to briefly switch back to the slides. So we got the demo. And again, all of you that have a Learning Upgrade license will be able to go in and add that to your students right away. For those that don't, make sure you request a pilot and you'll be able to get started. I don't want to spend too much time here, but just for getting started with the English track, it's where we really are primarily used in almost every country that we work in. And so with what's possible, we have learners that have started out pre-literate, refugee, new arrival to the States, non-literate in their first language, going through all of our English courses and are now taking credit-bearing courses at community colleges. We also work with large organizations like the Aga Khan Foundation, supporting thousands of refugees around the world for their English support. And you'll see here, they use the Cepher scale. So starting out pre-A1, that's basic, and NRS ESL level 1. That's the majority of the students we start working with there. So you'll see 92% of an 800 group initial cohort with them. After 6 months, that's down to 16%. So it doesn't really matter which students you're looking to serve for citizenship or ESL. They can all be starting at pre-A1, no exposure to English. And as they move up through our English courses, they'll be able to get up to that NRS ESL 6 or that NRS 5. And that's when they're going to be ready for our Citizenship Upgrade course. They'll also be ready for the naturalization interview. And again, all of that's available to all of your students. We do that with high engagement. So you got to see the instruction. Again, it's bite-sized. Our goal isn't to have one lesson take 30 minutes. We know that when it's supplemental material, so they're not in a classroom in front of a teacher or a tutor in real time, we have to work hard to get the learner's attention, because on their phones and on their computer, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's WhatsApp, there's whatever other messaging platforms they're using. So we have to make sure that we not only grab their attention, but we keep their attention. We do that with our bite-sized lessons. That's what's going to drive the binge learning, and that's what will accelerate the learner growth to make sure that they get through and pass that naturalization interview. So we already went through the demo, but you can see how things work. Every single one of our lessons is built that way. We record over 10,000 pieces of audio for every single one of our courses. And the reason for that is not only the instruction at the beginning and the songs, but every single one of those multiple choice practice questions that you see, we record the remediation for every single one of those. So in order to have a large enough test bank to make sure that they're seeing new questions, you can imagine how many pieces of audio that we're recording for those. But it's important for the learner experience to make sure that they feel that they're not just working in a silo, that there's a tutor or a teacher built in. It really amplifies their experience. So for learners working through, especially those say, I want to become a citizen, but it might take too long. My English isn't where it needs to be today. They really become the author of their journey and the driver of their car in this regard. If they can dedicate 4 hours a week, you can see how quickly they can accelerate through our English, get up to that NRS level 5, jump into our citizenship upgrade, and then prepare themselves for that naturalization interview. And we include everything. So you'll see this full track and you can see how important it is. For learners starting out, you can see what the income levels are when you don't have proficiency in English in the United States. And as English proficiency improves, so does earning. And then they can get ready, take the language proficiency, get into some credit-bearing courses, some certificate programs, improve their math. high school equivalency, and then work through our digital literacy, work-life skills, financial literacy, as well as working on their citizenship status. And all of this is available in one app. So you'll see it takes over 350 hours to go through this. That's 1 hour a day. And so when you look at how adults, kids, pretty much everyone you see, how much time are they spending on their smartphones in a day? Whenever you look at your smartphone app statistics, it can be kind of scary because it usually is in the hours for a lot of people. So all I'll ask me is maybe take a few minutes at the beginning away from the social media and from the entertainment, jump into Learning Upgrade, and you'll see how quickly things accelerate once you reach that 30 to 60 minute mark on a daily basis. Before they know it, they've gone through everything and they're ready to take that next step. So the LMS, this is what we work on in the follow-up training. So for those that have a license and would like more training, feel free to reach out. For those that are brand new and will be getting a pilot for the first time, we're going to be reaching out, team at NRP, and making sure you get set up. Everybody receives training if you want it. You don't have to have it. We have a lot of programs, individuals that are already tech savvy, they work in Google Classroom, our system feels familiar to them and they're just off and running. They go with the documentation. But for those that would like training, no problem at all. We'll get on a Zoom, we'll walk you through everything. It's really straightforward. Everything is based on tiled classes, detailed reports. So this is where you'll start. You'll create a class. You're going to add your students. We can add students with a spreadsheet enrollment, or we can do it by student invites. And so in that case, we'll just generate a single code. Learners will enroll themselves. So both of those options are available. For those that are doing spreadsheet enrollment, if you provide the email, WhatsApp number, or text number, we can do push notifications. So this is great for like a fully remote setting, or for somebody that has a big wait list. Maybe you have 200 students that wanted into your ESL citizenship program. You haven't been able to serve them previously. Now you can send them a push notification and say, get started. Once you go through this full course, that'll move you up to the top of the wait list and we can work with you. There's a lot of great ways that we can cover some implementation strategies, and all of that will be covered in the training. Once your students get enrolled, you'll be able to see their last play date, their enrolled date. You'll get detailed activity logs for every time they log in and complete a lesson. We talked about the onboarding. We'll do more of a deep dive in the training there. We also have a teacher whiteboard. So you'll see in the main menu for the teachers, you have your classes. In the teacher whiteboard, this is where you're going to have an unlocked version of Learning Upgrade. So if you are doing whole class lessons, maybe you're a tutor that's working one-on-one with an individual or a group, you can use our Citizenship Upgrade course teacher whiteboard, and then you can just break the pieces up. You can do the instruction and then have your own questions, or you can do your own instruction component and then use the multiple choice questions in a whole group setting. So the teacher whiteboard's available to everybody with an LMS login as well. From there, we move into the reports training, and that'll just be basic dashboard. You'll get to see total activity to see how much activity your learners are logging on a daily basis. And then we'll dive into the reports. So this is going to be a lesson-based report. You'll see every single login. In this case, we're seeing 3:40 a.m. In a lot of cases, you'd say, oh, that's only for demo purposes. For Learning Upgrade, not so much. We find for a lot of our individuals that have families, a lot of them have multiple jobs. They have lives that are busy. And you'll be surprised from that 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. window, they get a lot of activity. They do a lot of testing and they log a ton of hours. And you'll find that when you make citizenship preparation available at their fingertips, when it fits into their schedule, when it's convenient for them, when it's optimized for their schedule, they'll not only fly through it, but they'll be hungry for more. And so that's what Learning Upgrade really does. And you'll be able to track and monitor all of that in the learning management system. So the last thing we provide training on is, if your learners aren't coming into a center, there's a lot to be said for support when they can talk to other individuals in your program, somebody else that went through citizenship, other people that are going through it. They can bounce ideas off each other. They can practice the interview process. They can talk about things that they're not comfortable with in their first language. That helps a lot. For those of you that don't have an in-person setup, or maybe you have in person, but it's not supporting everybody that you'd like to reach in your community or in your program, we provide training on WhatsApp learning circles. So you're essentially just going to be creating a WhatsApp group. The learners are going to be getting added to that, and they can communicate with each other. And that's done through WhatsApp communities. So we'll go through how to get that set up. It's really simple. We can help you. You can either generate a link or a QR code. Your learners will scan the QR code with their phone. The one thing I can guarantee you with almost 100% certainty, all of your learners use WhatsApp probably on a daily basis, and they all have it downloaded. So it's a great platform to use for these learning circles. And it's really easy to create a QR code that'll automatically enroll them into that group. So we provide training there, and that just makes things easy. And again, we can share the link. I showed you the online PDF for the notebook. They can do that online, or they can print out a few pages at a time, and they can take notes while they're working on Learning Upgrade. Again, it's free to start, very affordable to grow. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to my buddy Greg, and he's going to talk about some of the NRP print materials and some brief strategies on how they integrate digital with print.
Well, thank you so much, Drew. It's always great. I always enjoy listening to your presentations. It just renews my passion for Learning Upgrade and all the terrific courses that are offered in it. So to you, Vinod, Haneen, thanks so much for this webinar today. I'm just showing my face briefly and wanted to call attention to the fact that for the first time in history, I'm not wearing my bow tie for a webinar. Drew, you mentioned it earlier. And with that, I'm going to take the attention off me and back to where it should be, and that's on our resources. So I'm going to go ahead and, Drew, if I may, share my screen briefly.
Absolutely.
Super. Let's see if I can find it here. So what I'd like to do with the remainder of the time here, at least for 5 minutes, is just make the connection between Learning Upgrade's citizenship course, and for that matter, there are other courses, and how they are related to New Readers Press resources, as Drew iterated earlier. So this is our home page, the newreaderspress.com. Dan mentioned in the chat that it's here that you'll find free resources. You can, here at the top, find your sales representative for your state and contact her or him to help you in the process of asking for a 90-day pilot or for some of our other resources. I'm going to go ahead and focus on ESL citizenship here and click on citizenship. And here is where we house the Citizenship Passing the Test series. There are 4 books in total, 3 for the students, and there is 1 teacher's guide for all 3 student resources. They cover civics, literacy, and speaking. So, U.S. history and government is the civics, the literacy is reading, writing, and speaking. And then, of course, the speaking is the ready for the interview. So 3 books that fully prepare your adult learners for the citizenship test. Important to note that this series was developed by the author is Lynn Weintraub, who serves as the ESL and Citizenship Coordinator at the Jones Library in Amherst, Massachusetts. Lynn Weintraub may be a household name for many of you, as she is well respected, and with good reason. Lynn has a 100% pass rate with students who use her resources to study for the citizenship test. And she, in fact, served on an advisory committee when the last major test changes back when they gave the citizenship test a major overhaul were made. So she knows her stuff, and it's reflected in the books that she provides. So we're happy for this relationship as well. One thing that I really want to point out is that if you go to Learning Upgrade under Digital Solutions, here it is, Learning Upgrade. Here's where you can request a trial, and again, you can ask your sales representative for help in doing so. But if you scroll down, you'll find these free resources, and this is absolutely amazing. This is what I wanted to point out, because what we have here are crosswalks from Learning Upgrade courses to New Readers Press print resources. So as Drew was mentioning, not only do they have a citizenship course, but they also provide basic English from literacy level all the way up to GED and high set test prep, and the same for math. Well, we have these familiar titles. So for Learning Upgrade Math, you can look at crosswalks that will take you to our Breakthrough to Math series. For lower literacy level readers who need math skills, you can do the same with our Math Sense series, which is test prep for our GED and high set students. For English, we have the very familiar Laubach Way to Reading. We have crosswalks to Laubach Way to Reading. We also have crosswalks to our Journey to Success series, so that in effect you can use the Learning Upgrade digital courses in tandem with New Readers Press resources and vice versa. And this will be true too for the citizenship course, because we are currently working on those crosswalks, and they'll be available sometime in September. And I'm super excited about that. So, Drew mentioned earlier that it's some of the students may be struggling with, because they're non-literate in their own language and struggling with the reading and the writing and the vocabulary and spelling. They may be struggling a bit with the Learning Upgrade course as well. Well, you can use the crosswalks to take them to Lynn Weintraub's series, the Literacy Skills Workbook, for example, where they can learn sounds and names of the letters, simple spelling patterns, sight word recognition, and everything that they will encounter in the Citizenship Passing the Test series is exactly what they're going to need in order to pass the test, and really nothing more. So it's really a concentration on, let's help you pass the test. And then, let's continue to work on your reading skills, on your other academic skills, on your other life skills, work readiness skills. So all this is possible. I love this perfect relationship between the New Readers Press and the Learning Upgrade products. So we have that to look forward to. And you know what? I think I've used up pretty much all of my time. That's really what I wanted to say. So thanks, Drew, for the opportunity to share. Again, questions, reach out to your sales rep here on newreaderspress.com. You can use the QR code that we provided to get the Learning Upgrade pilot. And you can also find more information about Learning Upgrade and our many other resources here on our website as well. Dan, any closing comments?
Thank you, all of the panelists today, Greg, and all of Learning Upgrade. One last comment, and just a reminder, everyone who registered for the webinar today will receive an email in about a week, and it will have, Drew, I'm hoping I can put your student notebook on there as well, but it'll have a link to the recording, Drew's presentation slides, a certificate of participation, and we really appreciate your being here with us today. Drew, is the notebook going to be available?
Yeah, the notebook is available now. It's already hosted online, so they can find that, and we can absolutely include that in the Reach Out bundle post webinar.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.